Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back. You are listening to Teaching Band from the Beginning. I am your host, Tim Basil, and with me, as always, is our co-host, Olivia Spell. Olivia, how are you doing today? How was your first day of school?
I'm tired. I'm more tired than I thought I'd be.
I'm not as tired as I thought I would be, but I am plenty tired, let me tell you. So today we struggled through our first day of school, and I think we found out a lot of things that worked and some things that we need to make better for tomorrow and beyond.
You know why I think I'm tired? I feel like when I teach, I'm like, if this is a volume knob, down here is where I live on the normal. But when I teach, it's like
you crank it
wide open.
You turn it up to 11.
So I think I'm tired just from being on. I've not had to be on for so long and such a long time.
Like you're on the stage.
With my dusty dress pants. There was dust on my dress pants.
Dust on your dress pants that you haven't worn since March.
Anywho, I think that's why I'm so tired.
Well, we have our guest with us today. You've heard from her before. Her name is Paula Hales. She's the band director at Archer Lodge Middle School. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Did you know that you are officially our first recurring guest?
Ooh.
So I'm going to make you a button you can wear on your shirt to school tomorrow.
Fancy schmancy.
Paula is here today to talk to us about this remote learning thing that we're all going through, but through the eyes of beginning band. We thought it was important that we needed to spend an entire episode on just beginning band. So Paula's got some really neat ideas, and we're going to go ahead and jump into what she has worked out for her beginners. So Paula, I heard word on the street is that you have created two pathways, one for beginners with their instruments and one for beginners without their instruments. I guess first, why did you decide to choose to give the option of two pathways?
Well, that was a two-pronged effort there. One, I don't want to lose kids. I know parents are really nervous right now and unsure, and just like every year, kids sign up for band and at the last minute they get cold feet and they want to drop. Well, usually if they're not going to get an instrument, I just have to let them drop because I don't have time in my normal school day to individualize and differentiate. So I'm really embracing differentiation for this year, and I'm trying to keep all of my kids, and I'm not letting them use the excuse of not getting an instrument to drop my class.
There you go.
And the other side of that is I'm trying to make it easier in administration, because every kid that drops is an extra button they have to click to move those students to a new class. And
right.
Like at my school, like we have over 1,300 students and they are still enrolling. So me dropping a schedule change off today would be probably at least a week delay before they even get to that. And so I'm just trying to keep everybody from schedule changing, and then hopefully brainwashing those kids without instruments to realize, hey, I want to do band.
Yeah, I really do want to do them. Right.
Yeah, and the whole time.
And I always remind everybody that it is 10 times easier to move a student into band than it is to move a student out of band, schedule-wise for your data manager,
yes,
as far as that's concerned. So let's talk about your students in the non-instrument pathway first.
Yeah.
Are you having them in a separate class than the students with instruments? How are you handling that?
Nope, I am. We have that preferential scheduling of how many minutes are we live and then how many minutes go into breakout sessions and that sort of thing. So my interpretation of that is going to be, I have roughly an hour of class. I'm going to do 30 minutes with everybody either category, it doesn't matter. We're all in there together. I'm going to do 30 minutes of basically like music theory and music literacy.
Mhm.
And then the other 30 minutes is how are they going to apply that knowledge? Either they're going to apply it with playing an instrument or they're going to apply it with music composition. So those without instruments are going to end up writing music or trying to use those skills in that way. And then those with an instrument won't be writing, they'll be learning to play it.
I think that's an absolutely great way to handle it, so that the students without instruments, you have everybody together. And then when you split, the students without instruments are still doing something musical.
Yes.
Something that's going to apply to when they get their instrument later on.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Translate into skills that they need to play their instrument. When will you introduce instruments to the students that don't start on instruments? Do you have a plan for that, or is it?
Well, if they opt no instrument, they're pretty much no instrument for the semester.
Okay.
But like I've structured my Google Classroom to be tied to a Google folder for their group, and I have folders for each type of instrument. So theoretically, if it gets to be October and someone finally gets their flute, so to speak, they could then just start accessing the material from the flute folder, because I'm going to have been posting videos all the way from day one of this is how I put my flute together. These are buttons that my fingers go on. So they could technically go all the way back and start themselves.
Okay,
if they were to acquire an instrument mid-semester.
So they can move back and look at the materials that the instrument kids are looking at in September, and they can go back and do those things on their own. I think we're finding some ways that the remote, or finding the advantages of the remote learning. I think that's one of the advantages, like you mentioned, not having the individual time to to bring someone up to speed with the rest of the group. And in the remote learning, with all of its warts, that's one of the advantages. Now you do have a way to pull a kid and get them up to speed. And what do I do with them now before they're up to speed?
Right, and you can't hide in the big group.
Correct. And then that one particular student is just kind of, like you said, hiding, and we get to the end of the semester and they're still 2 months behind everybody because they've been able to do that.
But on the flip side of that, they have that individual time. I know we have to have so many office hours a week. I'm sure yours is similar, Ms. Hales. And so if I decide in September I get a flute, I've caught up, here's the things I've learned so far, they could arrange that time with you and you could hear them one-on-one so they don't fall through the cracks. I think there's a positive flip side to that.
Exactly, because my schedule on Fridays is all basically office hours. Like I'm basically open all day. So even if I'm not able to catch them during the week, they can make an appointment with me on any Friday, and we can really dig in and see what their issues are.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
I really like the way you're going through this and I think one of the most important things is you're keeping those students and your numbers are not being affected, because I know so many directors where numbers are being affected because of the situation we're in.
Well, my 8th grade numbers have really taken a significant hit because they are very upset about missing that group atmosphere.
Yes.
And some of them got used to hiding. Group session, or in that group setting. So I have lost probably about 5 to 10 8th graders.
Oh yeah.
Because of that. But my 6th graders and 7th graders are a little bit more understanding and a little bit more open-minded.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It seems how sometimes the older kids they know what they're missing. The younger beginners, they don't know what they're missing yet. But I think some of the older kids, we would normally be doing this, getting ready for the Harvest Festival, and now we're not having that, and losing those incentives. I could see that being somewhat of a turnoff for the older kids.
Yeah.
With your students that are not starting on instruments, had you thought about, let's go second semester, January, how you're going to integrate them into the students with instruments? Are they going to stay separate? Do you plan on having them caught up at the end of the year?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work yet. What I predict, unfortunately, is that many of them may end up dropping, especially if we come back face to face. Unless they've really enjoyed it, then they would continue. But I have a feeling that if they don't get an instrument, that I may see quite a bit of an attrition factor there.
Right. And if they don't have an instrument by January, and we are back face to face in some form or fashion, then how do you work that into your class when you're working with an ensemble and you have students that don't have instruments?
Well, my plan is I have kids with instruments are obviously going to be getting their traditional method book to play out of. Kids without instruments, they are supposed to be purchasing a theory book. So, that's the theory book is what we're going to be working through as an entire class. So, worst case scenario, when we get to January, they will be continuing to work through that theory book on their own if they're in class without an instrument.
Okay. Well, I think the way you have it set up with your two different groups, I think, like you said, you're probably going to lose some kids, but I think you're going to lose far fewer students than you would had you said, if you don't have an instrument by September 1, you can't do band.
Right, and a lot of teachers, especially band teachers, understand this. Lots of times, if they get in the class, they stay because of the teacher. They don't stay because of the material. They stay because we've established a relationship with that teacher. So I'm really hoping that by building those relationships and building that rapport, that will give them the confidence to invest into going into the instrument route.
Yeah, and I think you touched on another thing there. It's really all about relationships, as far as what kind of experience your students have in any class, but in particular band. So let's talk about the students that do have instruments. Just so that I can wrap my head around it, typically, what instruments do you start there at your church?
Prior to 2020, I would only start flute, clarinet, trumpet, and trombone. In the fall of 2020, I have become all of the flexible, and if they are willing to get it, I am willing to teach it because I have the time now.
Sure.
To really individualize.
Good afternoon,
of
staff.
course.
This is just an announcement to let you know that with the exception
We might edit this out. We might not.
that we have a hard exit today at 4 p.m. Everyone must be out of the building by 4 p.m. so that the custodians can safely sanitize every classroom. Sixth grade teachers who may be in the building at this time, this may cause you to have to shift classrooms periodically. Again, we need everyone to be vacated from the building no later than 3:59.59 p.m. Thank you. Have a great afternoon and see you tomorrow.
That was awesome.
The joys of teaching band in school.
Okay, so flexibility is where we were, if you were going to edit that out.
Sure.
So I am willing to teach any type of a saxophone. I am willing to teach bass guitar. I'm willing to teach piano. So, I'm willing, if it's in my method book and I have some way to track the notes that the kids are going to be able to learn, I'm in it.
Yeah, and there you go. You have the flexibility of to be able to be a little bit more individualized. And if you go that route, maybe next year or when they get in 7th or 8th grade, all of a sudden you have a bass player and a keyboard player for your jazz band.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Or I just have piano players that don't just play by ear. They actually know what they're seeing.
Of course. Wow. Imagine that happening, right? You had mentioned before about the tutorial videos. Can you tell us more about with your kids with instruments, what kind of, I'll call it face-to-face, but it's really kind of computer screen to face interaction, and that mixed with videos that you'll be creating for them to watch.
Yeah, I foresee that when I'm having a sectional, that the how to put my flute together is not going to go well in a group setting on a computer, because they're going to need time to process and figure out which one is their left hand and which one is their right hand. So,
and it is a struggle.
Yes. So like all of that basic information is going to be supplied ahead of time, so that when I meet with them, we are automatically troubleshooting and not starting with open your flute case. I just think that even if I was teaching face-to-face, I think that would have been really beneficial to be able to skip that part and let them do the opening the case and putting it together safely at home versus, clarinets coming in and everybody sitting there for 45 minutes while they figure out which way the body parts go together.
Right. I can't imagine how much of a zoo that would be compared with the issues we ran in today with just like Wi-Fi lagging and freezing. And I'm trying to present. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? And I just cannot imagine how chaotic and unproductive it would be.
I really want to keep the frustration level as low as possible.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Because I think that's probably, it might be the #1 killer of band attendance, but frustration is way up there, probably top 3. If I get frustrated because I can't even put the instrument together, the easiest way to cure that is I'm out.
Yes.
Right. So absolutely. Right. As they get going, and we know the very, very beginning part is you're holding on to the back of the bike as the first time they're on training wheels. Once they can put the instrument together on their own and they can get a sound on their own and maybe they know some notes. Now you can maybe let go of the seat and let them go a little bit. As far as them playing for you, assessing them, how much live playing, or I want you to video yourself and upload that video, as far as you assessing the students?
It's gonna, I have a plan, but that plan may go down in flames. We'll see how that works out. Right now, the plan is 1 assessment video a week turned into Flipgrid.
Okay, so you'll be using Flipgrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you tell us more about that?
I'm planning on posting those assignments every Friday so that they're due the following Friday, so that in case they need to do it over the weekend, they can.
Cool.
When I am meeting with groups of the same instrument, they're still going to have to be on mute there. And we're going to be doing, I'm going to be playing a metronome in the background, and we're going to be doing call and response. So I play, you play, I play, you play.
Sure.
And that's, working them through what they need to do for their assessment. And unfortunately, as far as I know, the assessment is going to be the first time that I hear them play by themselves, unless they take advantage of the other times that are available, and they reach out to me and say, hey, Miss Hales, I'm having trouble with playing the B flat on the flute. Okay,
Right.
no problem. Here am I. When are you available? Let's get together separate, and then we can have a separate Google Meet to address whatever problems they're having.
Yeah, and I think those office hours, as they're referring to them as, are just going to become so much more valuable. Even just a little 10-minute pop in. Hey,
Yeah.
Miss Hales, I'm here with my flute. Am I holding it? I'm not getting a sound. Oh well, honey, look at your left first finger. You need to move it over one. You don't want those things that you can fix that are so easy to fix when you're literally face to face. But probably the next best thing is like a one-on-one situation, and then really 10 minutes per student,
Yeah.
a couple of times a week, I think can make a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think. This past spring we didn't really have a lot of accountability, so we can kind of throw everything we knew out the window. And after today, with the kids coming, I have a lot of hope. Where do you think middle schoolers stand on the whole office hour thing? Do you think they're going to? Do you think they'd be more willing to just pop in and say, "Hey, I need help with this," or like you were talking about on your Fridays, like schedule a time and get their individual minutes?
You know what I think is a big difference between middle school and some high school is parent involvement.
Sure.
That's big.
If my students are struggling, they may be shy about reaching out to me, but oh my goodness, their parents are not.
Right.
And a lot of the emails and emergency SOSs that I got today were from parents letting me know that their student can't get in. It wasn't from the student, it was from the parent. So I'm really hoping that the parents continue to monitor and they realize, I don't think it's supposed to sound like that. Or, oh my gosh, I can't take it anymore. You need to go see Miss Hales because something.
See Miss Hales right now.
Go see Miss Hales on Friday. Yeah, sure. I think that's a really great point. And, you said you got SOSs from parents today. And as high school directors, we got SOSs from kids. So I'm excited to see kids take ownership of that. But every once in a while, I do wish the parents, and like you said, I hope that the parents continue to stay involved, because that's the whole problem with the public education system. But that's another podcast for another day.
Yeah.
But I think that's good that you see parents shooting you the email saying, hey, we need help with this. And hopefully that'll continue into the when the kids are tackling the content.
Right. And the kids will initiate.
Correct. So with all this in mind, I think you have a really good idea with, right, fingers crossed, who knows. And you said earlier, my plan might crash and burn. I wouldn't I would look at it that way if it was me talking about my own plans. But another way to look at it is, if your plans crash and burn, another way to put it is, my plans are flexible. If this doesn't work, I'm going to make adjustments.
Absolutely.
To make it work. And at this point, with this craziness that we're going through, I think that's all we can do. Hey, I think this might be a good idea. Let's try it. Hey, that didn't work.
Let's scrap it.
Scrap it and
try something else.
And let's go. And Paula and I are both, we have some experience in the drum corps world. There are world-class drum corps that do that to their shows. They have
how many endings did I learn?
They have a fantastic idea. They write the drill, they write the music, they put it in full ensemble, and you can see the staff looking at each other going, no, that was a terrible idea. This is all right, that's enough. And then they go back and rewrite. And there's nothing wrong with that in the least. Absolutely. Especially, what are the uncharted territory that we're in right now? Absolutely. I was thinking about, how would we handle this if I was in high school before the internet?
Oh goodness!
And the one thought in my mind was, we would probably get a packet of papers
Uh-huh.
in the mail
Mm-hmm.
that would have like a letter and say with instructions and then music, and then you would have to, I don't know, mail something back. I have no idea how that would work.
Floppy disk. Save it
So-
on the floppy disk.
So, you know, thank goodness we have Wi-Fi when we're facing
Yes.
whatever it is that we're facing, that we have these tools. So with your plan, where do you see, and I don't even know if you know the answer to this yet, but as far as goals for the semester or for the year, I know we talked about in our last episode 13, I think,
13 or
14 or 14. Check out both and let us know which one I'm talking about. We talked about the goal number 1 is survive, keep the kids in band, so that when this is all said and done, we still we have a band program to come back to.
That's right.
As far as your beginners, what do you think a realistic goal might be for these kids?
Well, I guess I'm looking at this maybe kind of through the lens of college education, when you would have all the private lessons and then have the jury at the end. So, you know, I'm kind of looking at it as, I guess my end goal, if we're not face to face, is to be able to produce a recital where the kids,
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
even if they only perform for their section.
Create a product.
Oh,
This is really product driven, exactly. And, you know, I really think, you know, in a small group setting, and of course, if they want to invite any other friends from different instrument groups to come and watch, or I suppose we could pre-record it and have a watch night. you
Yeah.
know, something like that. Like, that's my goal, is for them to
I love that.
That
Yeah.
is.
be able to produce something. And then, because believe it or not, I mean, even when we come back face to face, those 6th graders are then going to have to acclimate to group playing, where you used to have the hiccup between group playing and soloing. You know,
Uh-huh.
now I'm going to have a whole bunch of soloists
that
to get used
aren't
to.
used to playing together.
You know, I guess I'm really hoping to have performance opportunities at the very least. So even if it's a group mentality that they have to get behind, they are still used to performing.
I like that. And I guess maybe let's talk worst case scenario. Here's what I think. Worst case scenario is that a year from now, then you start these current 6th graders, they'll be in 7th grade a year from now, and that you start them out and you could say, okay, now that we've got that pandemic stuff out of the way, now we can come back to a regular school, and you would treat them like a beginning band with experience.
Right.
You know, a beginning band with 1 year's experience.
Because that's kind of the way I'm thinking of my 7th grade.
Right, because of how much they did not get at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I think the thing is to remember, as teachers, we always compare ourselves to other teachers, or our bands to other schools' bands, but we also compare our 7th grade this year to last year's 7th grade, and say, oh, we were way further ahead last year. And I think in this situation, you can't do that. You can't really compare it to anything, because it's just completely different circumstances.
And actually, I'm a little bit nervous thinking about that far ahead, because my kids are going to be so spoiled over individual attention.
No, that's a great point, actually, because, you know, if they use this time, they could either get super far ahead, or if they waste this time, they could get super far behind. So then when we do return, like you said, they're going to be spoiled. You know, Susie Chapstick, who can already play her all-county solo and all her scales, is not going to be having it when Tommy Toothpaste ain't picked up his instrument in a year.
Yep, that's going to be a big old truth day when everyone comes back.
It's going to be bridging that gap.
Yes.
Back. And then I don't know if you've thought that far, but maybe, looking forward to 7th grade. And I know this is like taboo in middle school land for some people, but you could do maybe an advanced and a intermediate band, as opposed to, I think you still do woodwinds and brass in 7th grade, right?
Actually, if my Google folders work out, then I may, I don't think I would ever really separate them that way, but I would give them access to advanced material and normal material. I'm not going to tell them that they're in either group.
Right.
They want to stay in the traditional 7th grade material. They can stay happy in that little folder and just work themselves and just have a good old time. And Susie Chapstick wants to be able to play like a 12th grader. I will put that material in that advanced folder, and she will at least still have access to it.
Okay. Yeah.
And if someone needs to back up and review something from a month ago,
you
then
need to go back to folder X.
But you know what? If that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do, because we want progress. Progress.
Keep all of these materials so that, if the kids need to backtrack, I'll just be like, just jump on back to that folder that you had access to. And
right. No big deal. Just go and pick it back up, and then you're on. Yep. No problems. All right. Miss Hales, sounds like you have a plan to survive this remote learning fiasco.
Yes.
So we want to wish you the best of luck. I would, if there's one thing I could do for you, it would be speed up your Wi-Fi. That's what if I was ruler of the world for one day, I would take my magic wand over to your school and speed up your Wi-Fi for you, because I know that was probably our biggest frustration, and I don't see that getting fixed anytime soon.
No, even my home Wi-Fi seems slower than it was.
Yeah, that's what Tim and I were like. We would have better Wi-Fi, and then
oh my gosh,
just so many spinny circles today.
And watching the kids' faces stare at my computer spin. Those poor kids and poor me. I'm just I got so frustrated today. It's not loading. And then when you're learning a new platform, a couple of times this morning, I'm like, did I click in the right spot?
Yeah.
Did I click in the wrong spot? And that's not why. And that's why I didn't click in the right spot, and it's taking forever.
I can't hear how many times David said, all right, thumbs up if you can hear me.
Thumbs up if you can hear me.
See my screen.
Oh my goodness. That needs to be a t-shirt. Thumbs up if you can hear me.
Thumbs up if you can hear me.
Good. Lord have mercy.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck, Miss Hales. I think this sounds like a good plan. And
yeah, for sure.
As always, if there's anything we can do, let us know.
And for our listeners, please don't give up. Dig in and fight the fight. We're going to come out on the other end stronger.
Survive.
This is temporary. Remember that when you have little kids, misspell your small children. When something's going on, you have to say, this is a phase.
That's right.
This is a phase. It might be a 5-year phase. It's a phase, and that's how we got to deal with remote learning. It's temporary. It's a phase.
That's right.
We just got to make sure that we take care of our bands so that when we have a band to come back to when it's all said and done.
Yep.
So fantastic. Thank you all for listening. I want to remind everybody to check out our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. Go to your favorite podcasting site, Apple or Spotify, and do all the things, like and subscribe and follow, so that you can always get our next episodes and get our updates and not miss any of our cool information. Miss Hales, thank you so very much.
Take care.
Tomorrow, there's only 179 days left.
That's right. Woo!
Fantastic. All right, teaching band peeps, we out. Catch you on the flip side.
Bye.